They always say betrayal feels like a knife in the back. But when it finally happens, it's quieter than that. More like a slow leak in a house you thought was solid, until one day the floor caves in under your feet. My name is Jonathan Ames. I'm 42 years old, and I build homes for a living, custom renovation work in Asheville, North Carolina. But this story isn't about the houses I built. It's about the one I let fall apart. It's about my wife, Elise. We'd been married 12 years. No kids. Elise had never wanted them. Sighed she didn't have that gene. I accepted it. We traveled instead. Laughed a lot. Made a good-looking couple at parties. At least, that's what it looked like from the outside. What broke us wasn't a sudden affair or screaming matches. It was something colder, something planned. A betrayal with a paper trail. And it started with a phone call from my cousin, Evan. "You know Elise was asking about your mom's estate, right?" he said one Thursday evening. I paused. "No. Why would she ask you? She called last week. Said she was helping you sort through everything and wanted to make sure she had the right lawyer's info." Something felt off. I thanked him and hung up. Then I just sat there in the living room, staring at the fireplace Elise and I had picked out together 6 years ago. It was true. My mom had passed away 2 months earlier. Pancreatic cancer. It took her fast. I'd been her only child, and she left me everything. Her savings, her lakefront cabin in Hendersonville, and more importantly, the family trust she'd quietly grown over 30 years after my dad died. Elise had met my mother exactly 3 times. Now she was sniffing around the inheritance. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I called my mother's lawyer, Helen Ward. "Elise doesn't have any legal standing to access or inquire about the trust," Helen said. "It's clearly structured as a separate asset." "You've never commingled it with marital funds?" "Never." "Good. Then her interest is curious. I'd recommend you don't mention this call. Let's set up some monitoring." By that weekend, I'd created a new email account. I moved every trust-related document to a private cloud folder Elise couldn't access. Changed all my passwords. Asked Helen to lock the trust with dual authorization. Meanwhile, Elise acted as if nothing had changed. She kissed me goodbye in the mornings. Sent me TikToks she thought were funny. Made plans to recharge at a spa in Charleston for 5 days. That trip, it would end up being her mistake. 2 nights after she left, I was organizing digital receipts when I noticed an odd email, a login alert from my online banking profile. The IP address was in South Carolina at 2:41 a.m. The next morning, I visited the bank in person. Spoke to Angela, the branch manager, who'd known us both for years. She made several inquiries while logged in. Angela confirmed quietly. Requested full transaction histories. Tried to set up wire transfers, but didn't complete any. Did she move anything? No, but it's all documented. Would you like printouts? I nodded. That same afternoon, I checked our shared cloud drive. We kept household documents there, lists for grocery runs, renovation quotes, that kind of thing. In a folder labeled Basement Ideas, I found a series of screenshots Elise had taken of my trust balance, passwords, even a copy of the trust charter. She'd hidden them among paint color samples and flooring PDFs. There was a note in one image. $423,700 less 15% transfer tax? Check with Jamie. Jamie was her coworker. A guy I'd never thought twice about. Now I started wondering. The following Monday, I met with Helen again. She's gathering data, I told her, sliding the printouts across the table. But she hasn't acted yet. Helen flipped through the folder. Her jaw tightened. "We need to escalate," she said. "I'm going to recommend you retain a financial misconduct attorney, someone who handles marital asset protection." Do you know someone? Yes, and Jonathan, start documenting everything, every login attempt, every conversation that feels off. This isn't just sneaky. It's preparation for fraud. When Elise came back from Charleston, she brought me a new watch. Said she'd seen it in a boutique and thought of me. I thanked her, wore it, but inside something cracked. That night, as we lay in bed, she leaned over and said, "We should start thinking about long-term investments. Maybe roll everything into a single portfolio, consolidate." I didn't look at her, just said, "Let's talk to Helen about it." She went quiet. 3 days later, I got the second hit. Another login attempt on the Trust platform, this time from a device tagged to our home Wi-Fi, while I'd been out for a job site walkthrough. I checked the security logs. It failed the secondary authentication, but she'd tried twice. Helen called that afternoon. There've been 4 attempts now. If we reach 5, the Trust will trigger a mandatory fraud review and legal intervention. Let it trigger, I said. You sure? I'm done playing passive. I met with Jack Harmon, a seasoned family attorney Helen recommended. His office walls were lined with framed diplomas and small, brutal sculptures, steel welded into broken hearts and twisted chains. He listened carefully, then asked, "Are you ready to file?" "I don't want revenge," I said. "I just want to stop this before she gets clever." Jack smiled. "Revenge is messy. Strategy is clean." He drafted paperwork I signed. That weekend, Elise told me she was going on a supplier tour, something about new linen vendors in Charleston. This time I followed her. Didn't hire a pie, didn't bring anyone, I just drove. Stayed in a Motel 6 on the edge of town. Parked down the block from her Airbnb. On Saturday night I saw him. Tall, salt and pepper hair, fitted sweater, expensive watch. Jamie. They kissed outside before going in, like it was nothing, like I didn't exist. I didn't confront her. Instead, I met Helen at a diner the next morning. Over pancakes and black coffee, we reviewed the paper trail. IP logs. Access attempts. Cloud folder screenshots. Banking activity. Notes. Then I gave her something new. A photo I'd taken of Elise and Jamie on the porch. Helen raised an eyebrow. Not needed legally, but good for leverage. Elise returned Tuesday, said traffic was terrible. Hugged me. Smelled like cologne that wasn't mine. I didn't react. That night, I moved to the guest room. Told her it was because I was snoring again. She didn't argue. 2 days later, Jack filed for divorce, citing attempted misappropriation of trust-protected assets, financial misconduct, and marital deception. The response came fast. Elise called at 11:17 p.m. the next night. "What the hell is this?" she snapped. "You blindsided me." I said nothing. "You're being dramatic, John. I didn't even move anything." I spoke calmly. Intent matters. So does evidence. A pause. "This is about Charleston, isn't it?" "No, it's about integrity." Another pause. Then, "So what now? You trying to ruin me?" "No," I said. "I'm giving you the chance to walk away clean. But don't mistake my silence for weakness again." She hung up. The next morning I emailed Helen. Subject line, "Proceed." Within 48 hours, Elise had retained her own lawyer. Some guy from Charlotte with a reputation for aggressive negotiations. He filed a motion to dismiss the misconduct claim. Helen responded by sending over the full evidence packet, annotated, time-stamped, signed off by our digital forensics consultant. On Thursday, Elise's lawyer called to discuss amicable resolution. Helen's reply was firm. She returns half of what she took from joint accounts, signs an NDA, and makes no claims against the inheritance. That's our only offer. Monday morning. Courthouse conference room. Elise sat across from me. dressed in white, looking tired. Her eyes scanned the agreement. Her hand shook slightly. "I never meant to," she began. "I know what you meant," I said. "And what you did? No anger, no venom," she signed. Then I slid her an envelope. "What's this?" "Passwords. Alarm code. Anything you might need before you leave the house for good." She stared at me for a moment, then left without a word. 6 months later, I sold the cabin. Too many memories. Took the proceeds and, with Helen's help, set up the Ames Resilience Fund, a small grant supporting trade apprenticeships for kids who'd lost a parent. The first recipient was a 19-year-old kid from Spartanburg who dropped out of college after his father died. He wanted to become a mason. "He reminds me of you," Helen said at the award lunch. Maybe, maybe not. But something felt good about giving him a shot at building something new. One evening, checking my mail, I found a thick envelope with no return address. Inside was a cashier's check. $36,850, half the money Elise had drained from our joint account. No note, no signature. Didn't need one. Later that week, Helen forwarded me a news link. Jamie had stepped down from Elise's company after creative disagreements. "Guess the linen tour didn't work out," she quipped. I didn't respond. That chapter was closed. A month later, I was walking along the French Broad River when I ran into Evan, the cousin who'd first warned me. "How's life?" he asked. "Quieter," I said. He smiled. "You look lighter." "I feel lighter." We stood in silence for a moment, watching the current. Then he asked, "You ever think about dating again?" I laughed. "Not yet, but maybe soon." That night I poured a drink, sat on the porch of my new rental, looking out at the skyline, and thought about my mom, about what she used to say whenever life knocked me sideways. "You can't stop people from breaking things, but you can decide what gets rebuilt." And this time, I was building something that would last.